My mom's visiting me on Maui this month, and I sat down to record this week's podcast episode, and she made me, like a mother would, go up and actually get my fancy podcast mic. And this is the mic, I've talked about this mic on the podcast before, where it's like a $65 mic, but it's the one that was recommended by an audiobook editor. It's like less expensive than the Blue Yeti, but he had this very strong aversion to that mic. But I usually use this at my desktop computer, and I'm sitting in my living room on my MacBook. So I'm holding it like a rock star would. Instead of in its little stand, it looks like one of those on stage mics. So I'm holding, oh, and now my mom is pulling out her phone and taking a picture of me like a rock star with this mic. So just imagine me reclined on a velvet couch, a blue velvet couch, holding a rock star mic while I speak to you today about stacking functions. So this is a concept from permaculture, and permaculture, it's a land design modality, food growing system design modality based around the idea of permanent agriculture. And really, if you read my book, it's around building food systems and land systems that are inspired by nature and how nature would actually design. And I have to do my due diligence here and always credit that permaculture was developed by a couple of old white guys in Australia, but they are the land practices that indigenous peoples for thousands of years and in current day are using to live alongside nature. But that's what I'm trained in. And I got my certification in 2013. So it's something that I reference a lot because it is something that I think about, especially with my husband being a regenerative agriculture expert, designer. It's his full-time and beyond full-time everything, him working with the land for our own property, for other properties. And so there's this concept in permaculture called stacking functions. And it's with the idea that every design, or as much design that you can do in terms of plants you're planting or earthwork you're doing or ponds you're putting in, all of these little decisions have stacked functions. It doesn't just have one purpose, it has multiple purposes. So if I need a fence along my property, making sure that it is a fence that we could grow plants along, so the fence is also acting as a trellis and the plants that are grown there can be things that we eat on a regular basis and can be sold as crops. Or if instead we could actually plant trees along the fence line. So instead of it being a fence, it could actually be trees that grow fruit or could even be used for coppicing, for growing kindling, for building a fire. So we're trying to think of how do we use space, physical space, in a way that multiple things are happening and multiple boxes are checked. And this popped into my head the other day while I was running, because apparently I'm a runner now. A really bad, slow runner, but hey, I'm doing it and it's making me feel good. And with running, it has a lot of physical benefits, right? For heart health, you feel more vital, you have more energy because you have your blood pumping through your body. It helps with bone density, but it's actually not stacking functions in the way that it could. Most people, when they exercise, which is such a valid and important thing to do for our human bodies, but we go to the gym and we lift weights, or we go for a run and run away from home, run back to home, or go on a treadmill and just run on a treadmill for the purpose of physical health. But if I was trying to think with my permaculture lens of stacking functions, instead of getting my steps in, my 10,000 steps in for a day by just going for a walk, and there is some stacking functions in there if you're doing it in nature, right? Because you're co-regulating your nervous system in nature while also helping your physical body. But what if instead of just going for a walk, you moved mulch around the property, because the property needs mulch over the bare dirt. This is what I'm thinking in my head, because I was on a run and being like, this is expending energy and not the most efficient way to expend my energy. Or instead of just going out for a run, could I be running to an appointment or running to meet up with a friend for lunch? Or instead of going to the gym to lift heavy things, could we be lifting heavy things around our property, since there's a lot of work to be done around here? We've compartmentalized our physical activity from things that are actually useful to do and in relationship with our physical environment. So there's a lot of opportunity with physical activities, but I mean, that's not the point of today's episode. It's really around stacking functions within your business. And I was thinking about this in terms of online launching, because we have Sacred Attraction Formula available right now at its very ridiculously undercharged price of $250 for the first 1,000 people in. So online launching has been on my mind. Plus, I've been an online launch manager for over 11 years and have brought in over $8 million between myself and between clients. And when it comes to stacking functions in business, in terms of online launching, I'm thinking about making sure that you're not wasting time and energy on launching something that you will never launch again. Now, there is total benefit to doing a one-off launch on a product or an offer or a service that you'll do one time, get money in the door, create happy customers. But that's not actually stacking functions, because the first time you launch something, it is the hardest time you will ever launch it, because you're writing the sales page for the first time, and usually sales pages are very long documents, and then setting it up and then creating the branding for it, then creating all the visual assets, then you're talking about it on social media, and you're sending out emails and probably putting together a launch event and talking about it with people and creating all of the offer promises, and then you're actually creating the program and you're serving it to people and delivering results to people. It's a lot of work. If you never launch that thing again, yes, you got those people the transformation and you made some money, but in my mind, it's wasted energy. Ideally, when you're launching something that you want to have around and available for the next 5 to 10 years. And obviously, as creative beings, you could change your mind and want to do something completely different. But my hope for you is you go into a launch with at least the intention of, I would like to relaunch this again for the next few years, even if it is once a year. Or I put it into an evergreen funnel that can be selling all the time. Because instead of your one-off launch that you've expended all of this energy, it becomes an investment of your energy and time. You have all of these assets in your business instead of things that will be never used again. And obviously, if you're relaunching something right now, then this idea can be a little irrelevant, because you're relaunching something. Great. You are just improving upon something you've already done. But you can come to it with the eyes of, how can I make this work for me in the long haul? How can I actually see this as an investment into my business ecosystem instead of some boxes I'm just trying to check? And if you are in the boat of creating something new, launching something for the first time, dreaming up your next program, I really invite you to sit with, and I ask this in my book, I ask this all the time, if you can look forward 10 years from now, and maybe think about the age you are now and think about the age you'll be 10 years from now, what would you love to be known for? If you see yourself on stage or featured in a big magazine or on a big podcast being known for something, the expert in something, what would that something be? Because the seeds that you're planting now, today, can be feeding that vision. And when we start feeding that vision now, everything can start lining up for that to happen sooner rather than later, sooner than 10 years from now. So if I'm stacking functions with my online launch and the offers that I'm creating right now, I'm thinking forward for that. I'm thinking, how can I actually put the roots down on something that will be growing for me in the future, that will be serving the purpose, not just for money in my business now and expelling some creative energy, but it's also building your reputation. It is creating assets for your business. So I invite you to actually take that to your journal, really sit with it, because a launch can be a lot of work. Even if it's fun and it only takes 15 minutes a day and you do the minimalist launch stuff that I talk about in Sacred Attraction Formula, it still is work. Why wouldn't the sales page you create and the launch event that you create be something that can be used over and over again and can be feeding your business? So take that question to your journal. I invite you to think about it. And of course, if you want my help with online launching, I'm doing this absurdly, ridiculously underpricing of Sacred Attraction Formula right now to play around with the idea that what if they were wrong? When everyone says people don't value things that they don't spend a lot of money on, therefore you should price your course at $20,000 or $5,000 or even $2,000. I want to experiment with that not being true. So first 1,000 people in, $250 for this 6-module epic online course I'm creating with full launch plans, tons of templates, full-on 28-day magical daily practices that you can do, guided meditation. And for people who don't like to follow the rules, there's a whole nonconformist track where I'm just teaching you the psychology and the strategy underlying launches so that you can do it your way and find your way of doing it. So come join us in here. There are already dozens of videos and trainings and resources available in there. So there's no reason for you to not join today and just jump in and immediately take use of it and immediately help me prove them wrong, that you will turn around, implement, and make 10x, 100x what you paid for it. That's my intention. You making loads and loads of money, having loads and loads of clients, getting amazing results, rippling it out into the world. So come on in. You can find it at my link in bio on Instagram, or I'll put the link in the show notes.